He's back, against all odds, against media predictions, against a divided nation's expectations. Donald J. Trump has returned to the White House for a second term, and if you thought his first presidency was a whirlwind of executive orders, late-night tweets, and media firestorms, then brace yourself, because this time, he's not playing defense. The Trump administration's second term has officially kicked off with a series of bold, controversial, and in some cases downright shocking actions. From sweeping immigration orders to economic overhauls, from military reshuffles to tech crackdowns, the new Trump era is moving at breakneck speed. Love him or loathe him, you cannot ignore him. In this deep dive, we're breaking down the latest from inside the White House. The policies, the executive orders, the cabinet shakeups, the legal battles, and what it all means for America and the world. This isn't just politics, it's a political thunderstorm. Let's get into it. Part 1, Trump 2.0, the return to power. It all began with one of the most hotly contested elections in American history. After a bitter campaign against a crowded field and an even more divided political landscape, Trump pulled off a dramatic win, bolstered by strong support in key swing states, record Republican turnout, and a narrative that positioned him as the only man who could fix what's been broken. But this wasn't the same Trump who walked into the White House in 2017. This was a war-tested, politically savvy Trump, a man who had spent 4 years out of power rallying his base, reshaping the Republican Party, and learning exactly how to wield executive authority. And within days of retaking office, that shift became clear. His administration hit the ground running, not just with executive orders, but with an unapologetic, aggressive tone. There was no pivot, no middle ground, just full-speed governance, Trump style. Part 2, immigration. The closing the gates policy. One of Trump's very first moves in his second term was to double down on immigration, an issue that defined his first presidency. But this time, it wasn't just about building a wall or restricting asylum. It was about tightening the entire system. In the first 30 days alone, Trump signed executive orders, reinstating the Remain in Mexico policy for asylum seekers, limiting refugee resettlement quotas to a historic low, fast-tracking deportations of undocumented migrants without court hearings, and expanding visa restrictions for countries he deemed non-cooperative. Critics slammed the policies as xenophobic and draconian. Supporters praised them as common-sense protections for national sovereignty. Trump's administration responded with a bold new slogan: "A strong America begins with secure borders." On top of that, ICE raids have ramped up. Sanctuary cities are once again under federal scrutiny, and a new initiative called Operation Sovereign Sweep was launched, a nationwide immigration crackdown. Trump is making it clear, border control is back, and it's stricter than ever. Part 3, the economy, deregulation on steroids. If Trump's first term focused on tax cuts and trade wars, his second term has turned into a full-blown economic revolution. The White House has prioritized massive deregulation in sectors like energy, reopening federal lands for drilling and coal mining, finance, easing restrictions placed after the 2008 crisis, healthcare, gutting many elements of the Affordable Care Act. A major talking point in this new administration is the so-called America First Investment Zone, a sweeping initiative to give tax breaks and deregulation incentives to companies that build or relocate factories on U.S. soil. Critics argue it benefits corporations over workers, but Trump insists it will restore blue-collar jobs and reindustrialize the Rust Belt. Another surprising development? Trump has floated a national digital currency task force, hinting at interest in blockchain-powered solutions for government payments, a major pivot from previous skepticism about crypto. Part 4, foreign policy, friends, foes, and firepower. Trump's return to power has sent shockwaves through international relations. Within his first months back, he pulled back funding from NATO again, demanding member nations pay their share or step aside. He resumed tariffs on Chinese steel and tech goods. He opened backroom talks with North Korea, boasting that Kim Jong-un respects strength. And he raised eyebrows with an unexpected visit to Saudi Arabia, hinting at a new oil pact. But perhaps most controversially, Trump signed a Defense Sovereignty Pact, which aims to reduce American involvement in foreign wars, while simultaneously increasing defense spending at home. Critics are confused. Is he isolating the U.S. or preparing for future conflict? Diplomatic relationships with allies are on ice. Relationships with authoritarian regimes are being explored, and the State Department is undergoing one of the biggest reshuffles in decades. This isn't foreign policy by the book. This is foreign policy by instinct. Part 5. Domestic politics, power consolidation, and polarization. Back home, Trump's actions have been equally seismic. The Department of Justice has undergone major changes, including the appointment of a new attorney general who has vowed to clean house in federal agencies. Civil rights groups are alarmed, especially with the administration's stance on protests, surveillance, and federal power. New executive orders have cut funding to universities accused of political indoctrination, strengthened penalties for crimes against law enforcement, opened investigations into social media, censorship of conservative voices. One of the most controversial moves? A Patriot Education Act, which seeks to overhaul school curriculums to emphasize American exceptionalism, Western civilization, and what Trump calls truth-based history. Supporters say it corrects ideological bias. Detractors call it historical revisionism. At the legislative level, Trump is working with a Republican-controlled Congress to pass sweeping reforms, especially on crime, taxes, and education. The Senate is fast-tracking judicial appointments. Conservative think tanks are celebrating. Progressive groups are protesting. The divide has never been wider. Part 6. Technology and the big tech battle. One of Trump's loudest promises in his second term has been to break big tech's grip on America. And now, he's taking action. His administration has launched federal lawsuits against major tech giants for alleged antitrust violations, censorship, and election interference. A newly established Digital Fairness Commission is being set up to monitor algorithms, moderation policies, and political donations in Silicon Valley. Trump has also revived plans to repeal Section 230, the law that protects social media platforms from being liable for user content. This would radically reshape the internet as we know it. Meanwhile, alternative platforms like Truth Social and Rumble are being promoted openly by administration officials. The White House press team is even using these platforms for exclusive announcements, a clear shot at legacy media. It's a new kind of war, one being fought in code, clouds, and content moderation panels. Part 7. Public reaction, shock, support, and struggle. As expected, the response to Trump's return has been extreme on both ends. In conservative strongholds, he's hailed as a savior, restoring law, order, and pride. Massive rallies have resumed across red states, with supporters donning new slogans like "Rebuild the Republic" and "No More Apologies." On the left, resistance has also reignited. Protests in major cities have increased. Civil liberties groups are filing lawsuits. Celebrities, athletes, and CEOs are taking public stances again, just like in 2016, but with even more urgency. The media landscape is equally divided. Right-wing networks cheer him on. Liberal outlets fact-check every word. The culture war has returned in full force, and it's not just in politics, it's in classrooms, boardrooms, and dinner tables across the nation. The second Trump term isn't just a continuation of the first, it's a radical escalation. Part 8. Climate Policy, Deregulation and Energy Dominance 2.0. One of the most aggressive reversals of Trump's second term has come in the arena of climate and environmental policy, or more accurately, the rollback of it. Framing it as Energy Independence 2.0, the administration has launched a sweeping campaign to deregulate, drill, and dominate global energy markets again. In the opening months, Trump signed orders, repealing climate-related emissions caps on major industries, fast-tracking approval for oil and natural gas pipelines previously blocked or stalled, removing federal protections on several million acres of land to enable resource extraction. Trump has made it clear that climate change, in his administration's view, is not a priority compared to national strength and economic resilience. He withdrew the U.S. from newly signed international climate accords, dismissed environmental advisory boards, and labeled climate protest groups as ideologically driven radicals. To replace the climate focus, the administration introduced the American Energy Renaissance Act, aimed at doubling fossil fuel output, expanding exports, and making the U.S. the unquestioned energy capital of the world. Critics are calling it catastrophic. Environmentalists are filing lawsuits. But supporters are celebrating falling fuel prices, rising refinery jobs, and a surge in domestic production. To Trump, it's simple. Clean energy is a future bet. But America needs power today.